Sherm Jester with you on this edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum, and our special guest is the man who runs the New Hampshire Football Report.com, Roger Brown, and you've got a busy week in a lot of ways. Let's start off with football news on the state level, Roger. A big coaching change that could have effect on Division I football next season.
No doubt about that, Sherm. For those who didn't hear, Zach Matthews resigned as Bedford's head coach after, I guess it's 7 seasons. Very successful. It took him a couple of years to get the program, probably where he wanted to. Won 3 state titles, 3 of the last 4, I believe, and also finished as a semifinalist 2 years ago. Anyways, he resigned to take a job down in Virginia, Episcopal High School, I think it is, in Alexandria, Virginia. And part of the deal was he's got 3 kids. The 2 oldest ones are going to be playing college lacrosse. His daughter, Olivia's at James Madison, and Bennett, who was the quarterback of the football team, was one of the top recruits in the nation, and he'll be at Duke. So he'll be a little closer to them. And, his comments to me, that was part of the reason. And the other part was he wanted a bit more of a challenge as a football coach. So push himself professionally, I think is his term. So there will be a lot of, good candidates that will want that job,
Well, I was going to say, is there anybody in-house that has a leg up on it?
I don't believe so. I'm not sure. I can't speak for those coaches, but I did ask Zach that. And he said, he wasn't sure of anybody that was definitely going to step up and apply for it. So no obvious candidate. That doesn't mean one of his assistants won't apply. But to be determined, I guess. We'll have to see.
Now, you mentioned they've been very successful this past season, their championship season. They had not only his son as quarterback, but they had the big tight end gun there, and now they've lost both of those key players. What's their farm system look like? They've got a chance to just keep rolling?
Well, he made it sound like next year they might take a little bit of a step back just because they were so senior laden this year. I shouldn't say step back. He said there'll be a lot of younger kids that will have to contribute next year. So
step up.
Right. You never know. I mean, they may be very talented younger kids are just not experienced. Nobody knew who Brody Helton was when he was a sophomore, and he was as good as anybody in the state as a running back. So, I mean, I'm sure they're not going to be in bad shape. I just, whether or not they're championship material, I guess, will be determined. But I'm sure he said the program, the foundation is good, and, football is important to the kids there, which is half the battle, a lot of places. And so we'll just have to see, but they're certainly losing, their top tier talent. Their best players were seniors, both the skill position and up front on the line.
Well, when the opportunity opens, you take the opportunity, and as you said, they're going to be moving south anyway, or the kids are moving south on the teams. So it's a family affair, so to speak.
Sure. Yeah. He gets to be assistant athletic director at this school. It's a private school, lives on campus, a lot of advantages. It sounded like everything was appealing to him. So good guy.
That's the big news from here in the Granite State. Anything else when it comes to?
Well, there's a bunch of realignment going on, Sherm, and to be honest with you, I don't have my finger on it. I don't think Division I much affected, the big schools around here. There was a little bit of reshuffling of the lower divisions. Some schools are co-oping next year, but nothing, no tidal wave type news that's going to shake things up.
Well, the big news, obviously, in New England, of the Patriots making it to the Super Bowl. Were you shocked by that game in Denver?
I actually thought the Patriots would win a little bit more handily than they did. That game was a bit concerning to me that they only won by 3, considering I mean, they have played the last two games, the quarterbacks they've faced, really doing nothing. So, the fact that they could only win by 3, and I get the conditions and all that, but boy, they were lucky to even score a touchdown in that game.
Yeah, that
The
was
offense has me concerned, is the short way of putting it.
somebody's got to shore up that left side, the blind side. Campbell is having some issues there, so I hope Coach Vrabel and his defensive guys figure out some way to put some meat on that side to make sure Drake doesn't take a hit on that shoulder, especially.
Yeah, and you got everybody talks about Travion Henderson, but from what I've seen, he just can't pass block. So it's tough to put him in there on third downs when you're giving guys pretty much free shot at the quarterback when you can't even chip a guy off the end or give the tackle a little bit of help. So
you have to admit, though, that the Vrabel's got the defense pumped and jacked, to use an old Pete Carroll phrase. I think that's going to make it an interesting game because obviously Mike McDonald, that's his focus when it came to the Seattle Seahawks defense, and Vrabel has got the defensive line pumped. So we'll see. It could be a low scoring game. What's your take? Do you think so or not?
Yeah, I would say it will be, Sherm, just because I've kind of lost a lot of confidence in the offense. Not to say that they couldn't come out and play well. They just haven't shown it against some of the better defenses here in the playoffs. So, I wouldn't expect a ton of points from the Patriots. But I do think their defense, should be able to do a good job, assuming they can continue to stop the run, and then if they can do that, I think it'll make defending Smith and Jigba and Darnold a little bit easier. You can put a little more resources, like maybe double cover. They're who's probably the best wide receiver in the league right now, at least his production is. Or they could put Gonzalez on him sometimes. I don't think they want to do that all the time, but they can at least, maybe they can rush 4 or blitz, or I just think it would make it easier to defend that Seattle defense if they can just make them somewhat one-dimensional, but that's not reinventing the wheel. That's what everybody wants to do. I just think it's important in this game. If Seattle can run the ball,
right,
I think it's going to be a long day.
If they had gone up against the Rams, if the Patriots had been going up against the Rams, would it have been a different game, an easier game for the Patriots? What was your take there, having watched Seattle and the Rams?
I think they would have similar, I guess. I don't think it would have made a huge difference. I think the Patriots defensively, they'll have some edges. Their defensive line, I think the interior will have an edge against Seattle's offensive line. I'm talking interior there as well. I happen to like Kenneth Walker, the running back. I think, I seem to like him better than most based on what I'm reading. But so I think stopping him might be tougher than people think. But, again, that seems to be in my mind, that's the key. That and the offense has got to bring more to the table. Just you can't win without scoring 20 points or whatever.
If you had a vote based on what you've seen up to this point, would you give Drake May MVP and would you give Coach of the Year to Mike Vrabel?
I would definitely give Coach of the Year to Vrabel. If it's just a regular season award, I would give it to Drake May as well.
Okay. All right.
If it's the whole season, I probably would not.
Okay.
Just because of, his performance in the playoffs has not been good.
I mean, in that second half of that game against Denver, I think we were all kind of holding our breath because the weather conditions were really deteriorating. My wife had said to me, "Is this a artificial surface?" I said, "No, you can see," because when Drake May went down on that hit that bummed his shoulder out, he came up with a big clump of grass on his helmet. So
the way it should be, none of that artificial turf stuff.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was old time or old fashioned football. I mean, that was the way it used to be. I mean, you go back to those days with the Green Bay Packers and Minnesota Vikings, and when they were playing on grass and mud.
I hate indoor football. Sherm. It doesn't have to snow or rain or anything. I mean, I appreciate it when it does. Don't get me wrong, but that indoor game is just so sterile to me, and I don't like it. So I'm happy when the elements get involved.
The other issue that I have to bring up is Bill Belichick was quote unquote snubbed for the Hall of Fame nomination, and then Bob Kraft was nominated. However, he did not receive enough votes to be put into the Hall of Fame. So you got basically two snubs. What was your take on that? And then, as far as, do you think it was because the Patriots are so successful?
I really don't know, Sherm. I'm a bad guy to talk to. I'm not a big Hall of Fame guy. I think it's way watered down. If I was running the Hall of Fame or voting on it, there would be very, very few people getting in. Like, it would be only the best of the best, not pretty good, which I think is what we're at right now. I guess it's a big deal not getting in the first vote. I can't imagine a Hall of Fame without Belichick or Kraft. I got to assume they'll both get in. So it's kind of silly to me playing, whether they get in this year or whenever. But, maybe Bill treated some reporters wrong, like, was it Jim Rice used to do or what have you?
Yeah, for sure.
But, I mean, there are other things, though. I guess you can point to the, I don't know if you want to call it cheating, but, they're kind of, I know they're frivolous in some people's mind, but the whole Spygate and Deflategate and what have you, I guess maybe that tarnishes it for some people. I really don't know.
I think that one thing that I said this in the last podcast, his personality with the press compared to the personality of a Mike Vrabel with the press, night and day. I mean,
Yes.
It's just not just the facts, ma'am. Next game. Being gruff even on a victory note or in a Super Bowl win. You might get a crack a smile out of him if he won the Super Bowl, but that was about it. You didn't get a lot of personality, not warm and fuzzy from Bill Belichick, which I think went against him. Robert Kraft, on the other hand, I'm kind of upset. I mean, I think the guy, he started out as a fan. Granted, he had some dough and eventually invested that dough in the Patriots. But his thing is he wanted to put out a quality product, and he has. And that's something that a lot of these entrepreneurs that get involved in sports, and any sport, baseball or whatever, they just look for the short term. Robert Kraft is really a patriot. He's living and dying with that franchise. So I'm
Sure.
hoping that we pull this one off for him. And the only other thing I thought, well, my conspiracy theory is that they're thinking, hey, we'll put Kraft, Belichick, and Brady in at the same time.
That would be a bad idea. That's not a good idea.
Yeah, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? I mean, from Kraft,
that would backfire, I'm pretty sure.
Kraft and Brady would be fine, but then that Belichick element, and that's the other thing, the way he left with a kind of a chip on his shoulder after being so successful here. He's always going to be the GOAT. He's proven that with success. Don Shula, though, has more wins. That will be all time, and he was a first ballot Hall of Famer. But there are others that didn't get in to the Hall of Fame on the first ballot. So Belichick can't say, oh well, they were definitely putting the boots to him on it. But Kraft, on the other hand, I wish he had gotten in this year. That kind of miffed me. I have to admit it.
Yeah, I just, it doesn't move the needle for me. They'll get in, I'm sure. I'd be surprised if they didn't. And
it's politics, even in sports now.
can't get away from it.
Yeah, no. The other thing I wanted to ask you about is now the venue out in San Francisco, which it isn't. It's Santa Clara, which is an hour away from San Francisco. And all these people are investing in packages to go out there. I was looking at one, 16,000 just for the room for a 3-day stay. And that was in downtown San Francisco, not Santa Clara, which again is an hour away. I understand what they're doing with these visitor days, so that, they meet the players and all that. They do it in different locations. NBC is going to do something from Alcatraz Island.
Okay.
That's an interesting one. And the downtown San Francisco is a busy place, and it's an interesting place. It's got a lot of history behind it, but you got to be in the right place. All the talking heads have said over the years that New Orleans is the best place to play the Super Bowl because it's kind of contained. You've got all the clubs and all the party places that people want to be at. This is going to be spread out, and so it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out as far as the press is concerned.
If you're not right near the facility, it's having covered like some NCAA championships. It's always good when like the media area or what have you is very close to where the teams are practicing or doing their interviews, where you don't got to travel. When there's significant travel, and I don't mean like a trip across town in a taxi, it gets to be, tedious. And I don't think it's the best for in terms of bringing the fans the news either. It makes it, more difficult to do that and put out good material, whether it's TV or print or what have you.
NBC is going to be doing it. Mike Tirico and Chris Collingsworth will be the play-by-play guys, and they're good. I like those two guys. I don't know I'll just bring that up real quick. Of the major broadcast teams, which one do you prefer?
I don't need Buck and Aikman. Again, just because they inserted politics into their broadcast back when it was election year. I just thought they didn't need to get into that. I didn't think they kind of turned me off. Mm-hmm. I know Romo gets a lot of heat. I still like him.
Romo, I've noticed this season in particular, he's kind of backed it down a bit, which is good. That's good. Less is better as far as I'm concerned. It'll be interesting to see how Collingsworth and Tirico do. Tirico, I was reading an article, and I think it was in The Athletic, about how his jump to NBC, which was a gamble for him because he was the big gun at ESPN. So now he's got, the football, he's going to be doing the Olympics, and he does golf and everything for NBC. He's their big gun. But his move started all this flow of Buck and Aikman going to ESPN, and then now there's Prime involved with Al Michaels, and it started crazy. And then, of course, the contract for 10 years, our friend Tom Brady with Fox.
He's not my favorite as an announcer, that's for sure.
Back
to Aikman, the other thing I don't like about him is he doesn't seem to know what to do in the game situations, like when to go for two. He's just sort of clueless about all that stuff. And he's very, very, very conservative. You would expect like an analyst to be able to figure out, you may want to, this may be a shot where you want to go for two to go up by 7 or whatever, but he can't do that.
I know the networks pay billions of dollars for the rights to play these games, and they got them spread out all over now. Apple and everybody. Netflix is going to have football next year.
One thing I've learned, Sherm, over the years, and maybe it's because I'm in the media, but like when I do these games where I don't really have a rooting interest, like I'm doing a lot of college basketball this year, and sometimes I listen to it on the radio or while I'm watching. But if I get announcers who are neutral, I just enjoy it so much better.
Sure.
I know everybody today is the homer. I just don't enjoy it, even if it's for my team. Like I used to like Vince Scully because he I won't say he was 50-50, but he was darn close.
Oh yeah, he was an artist. I mean, he painted the picture with whatever the sport was, and he knew when to back off when it was on TV. He didn't have to be just jabbering all the time.
Yeah, right.
I'd love to see, like I say, a hometown element on the coverage. I know, again, they're not going to do it. It's just a pipe dream on my part, and you can always listen to the feed from Boston radio if you want to turn the sound down on NBC the night of the game. And then of course there'll be the 8 hours worth of pregame. You're going to be watching I guess that's the question on Super Sunday. What's your favorite part, and will you watch all that pregame?
No, I watch very little pregame. I don't hardly ever watch the halftime show unless it's somebody that I like, which they rarely put on anybody who I don't even know who they are. So I don't watch that.
Grammy winner Bad Bunny, buddy.
So yeah, I'll just watch the 4 quarters of football and eat some good food, and that'll be it.
Yeah, I was going to say you're going to eat some snacks, I hope.
Yeah, I don't know what it's going to be yet. I haven't set out. I was texting the wife about that yesterday, but we haven't finalized that plan. But
Somewhere on YouTube, there's a Seacoast Sports Forum video version we did, oh gosh, about 3, 4 years ago. And it was what to eat during Super Bowl. And I had a professional chef come on and she gave some recipes of, treats you could cook for halftime. And I did my infamous chili. Well, actually, it's pretty good chili. I did that on the video. So if people want to dig that out, it's on YouTube under Seacoast Sports Forum. And it's kind of a fun thing we did.
you can also make nachos with it too. You know
That's
what I mean? Like it's versatile.
Great. Predictions time. I'm going to ask you.
Oh,
I know
boy.
you said when we talked previously that you said Seattle.
I don't think it's I don't think it's out of the question that the Patriots can win. I just wrote a story, matter of fact. I pretty much what do the Patriots have to do to win, and it's pretty much what I just recited to you, Sherm. Revert to the regular season type of offense, or at least something close to it. Stop the run, and I think they've got to at least hold their own in special teams. And if they do that, I think they've got a good chance to win the game. But I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick Seattle by 3, and I guess if I had to pick you want a score? Is that what you need?
Yeah, let's go for score.
Let's go. How about 23-20? 23-20, 20-17, somewhere in there. I think that's both below the magic number that some are looking at.
Well, I'll tell you, I was going to flip it because I was thinking Patriots at least two TDs, maybe 3 field goals. So let's add that math up. That's 23. Yeah, I'll say 23-20. 23-20 is my pick as well.
You go the other way, or are you picking Patriots 23-20?
Yeah, I'll go with the Patriots. I think it's going to come down to a field goal that'll make the difference. But
Well,
the defense.
I just saw online somebody bet $1,000 on Borregales to be MVP, and I think it's 300 grand if he wins, something like that.
Wow.
Kicker's never been MVP before, so 3 field goals might get it done.
I wonder if I'm not into the betting thing, but I know I said to my wife this morning, there's probably billions of dollars invested on all these different sources, DraftKings, et cetera. Now, I got to ask you this: do you believe in all the propositions, like who gets the first field goal, who gets the coin flip, how long the national anthem is, and all that?
Not in all of them, and I rarely look at those, Sherm. But you know what? It was a couple of years ago. I think it was Kansas City. There was one where it was I can always find one that I think is really, really like they made a mistake. And this one was the number of players to carry the football for Kansas City. And I figured it out, like if they run a trick play with a wide receiver and all their backs carry the ball once, and the quarterback runs it, every possible scenario I could think of, it was still one short. So there was still room for error, and you were still going to win your bet, is what I'm saying. So I don't bet on, the crazy stuff, but I do try and find one since then, and it won easy. I try and find one every year that I just think is way, way off. And now I haven't found one this year yet, or I'd give it to you. But the last couple of years, there's so many of them. If you look hard enough, I think you can make a good investment. Let's put it that way.
Hey, I just hope the Patriots pull off a good victory for New England, for all of us that were surprised they are there, and surprised they've had such a great season, and for Mike Vrabel, Drake May, the rest of the team. Yeah, I'm hoping they at least. I know they'll give it all they got, and it should be a damn good game. I'm looking forward to it. Do you have anything for the 2-minute drill, friend?
Yeah, real quick, Sherm. Last time I was on, I was promoting. Of course, I got myself involved in this camp business, football camps, because we don't have many here in New Hampshire. And we had one Saturday, and I had a bunch of parents asking about a middle school one. So I went ahead and rented out the sports dome in Hooksett, and we're going to have a indoor football skills camp for offensive players on March 28th. So, if you're a Seahawk or what have you, I know the Winnicott group was pushing me to do it. They were one of the primary groups that wanted it. So grade 6, 7, and 8, if you're a quarterback, receiver, running back, and you're interested, just go to anygridiron.com, and we'll have some good coaches there, a mix of college and high school coaches, and hopefully everybody gets better and has a good time.
And for my 2-minute drill before we close out today, I just want to mention a special article that our friend Jay Pinsonnault in Seacoast Online put up today. It's about a Kennebunk man, 89-year-old Don Crisman, who is one of the Never Miss a Super Bowl Club members. We talked about him in our last podcast. Jay was getting ready to interview Don and up in his home at Kennebunk. Don's going to be turning 90 soon, and he's made it up his mind that he will go to one more Super Bowl. He wasn't going to, but since the Patriots are there, this is it. This is the big kahuna, and he's going to be going there to watch the Patriots with some friends who've been to every Super Bowl. Matter of fact, 2 other gentlemen that'll be there with him, and Don's going to be bringing his daughter as one of his guests. It's a great article. Read it. It's in Seacoast Online, Jay Pinsonnault, and again, it's about 89-year-old Don Crisman, who is a member of the Never Miss a Super Bowl Club, and he's going to make it to number 60 out in Santa Clara. God love him, and enjoy the game, Don. Last thing I'm just going to mention is baseball season gets underway on the 10th, and the truck is in Florida with all the equipment for the Red Sox, and I'm sure all the other teams are getting their gear ready. Are you excited?
Oh, Red Sox World Series, no doubt.
Anyway, we'll talk more about baseball next time. So on behalf of Roger Brown for NewHampshireFootballReport.com, this is Sherm Chester inviting you to join us for the next edition of the Seacoast Sports Forum. Enjoy the big game.